tight. There may be a small clockwise layer in there before it turns counterclockwise back to the left, aloft. But when it does turn back aloft out of the northeast, it will be fairly speedy. And speedy I mean by like 15 knots, not overly crazy by any means, but speedy compared to what we saw this morning. So you'll have some speed, but it's going to be, the highest speeds are going to be up towards the Blue PZ at 8,000 feet. But the low levels are going to be very, very light, generally out of the southeast and then transitioning to that northeast aloft. As we go through the weekend, I think we're going to see increasing amounts of southerly winds starting to blend back into the area. And by Sunday morning, we're going to see a pretty standard morning for Longview. So winds out of the south-southeast on the surface, and then south-southwest aloft, and you have a low-level jet there, 15 to 20 knots. So that will be your speediest flight of the weekend, but it looks very favorable. Winds on the low nights, generally Friday night looks to be a little bit better than Saturday night, but still not bad. I think Friday night we'll probably have winds around 5 miles an hour out of the southeast, and Saturday probably a wind around 7-ish out of the south. So it looks really, really great, much, much better than last year. So any questions at all on the weather? All right.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the folks that are going to be working, the staff for both the Great Texas Balloon Race as well as the Young Guns Championship. Alan Yost, to my left, your right, he's going to be the Deputy Director for the Great Texas Balloon Race. Of course, J.C. Smith, he's in scoring with the U.S. Nationals as well as the Young Guns Championship. Dave Bubs Indris, he's going to be doing the scoring for the Great Texas Balloon Race. Of course, everyone, you know Andy Baird, he's the Deputy Director. Henry Rosenbaum is the steward. We've got Duncan Donovan, he's going to be working with the Met team. Bruce Bussey is our Chief Safety. And also we got Mark Dolweber, he's in charge of all of the scoring teams. And we have lovely Lori Bussey with us tonight, welcome. And also Patty Kramer, right up here in front, she's going to be working scoring. I passed out a sheet of contact phone numbers. If anyone didn't get it, just stop by up here on your way out and get this. This is just in case you need to reach someone. Particularly landowner relations, we want to make sure that you've got a hold of that. Now, there's a number that is not on that I'm going to give you now, and I want you to write this number down. Bill and Jean Adler here from Longview, they're working in the propane area. If you're not going to make it in time for propane, and that's per the schedule, so for tomorrow morning, that is 8:30 to 11 a.m. So if you're not going to go to propane, or you're going to be late, we're going to ask you to call Bill at 903-235-3246. Repeat, 903-235-3246. Okay, and did everyone get a master schedule in their pilot pack when they checked in? Great. All right, so you know that there's a dinner tonight as soon as we get finished with this, and I think you already have the address. Anybody not get the address earlier? Okay, all right, let me give you that address for where the party is. Stand by, let me pull it back up. It is Rowdy Creek Ranch, located at 4048 Highway 300 Gilmer. That's 4048 Highway 300 Gilmer, Texas. All right, you're aware of Remind that we've been using in the past to notify you with important information, whether that's a cancellation, an abbreviation, weather information, whatever. We're not using Remind this year, we're using WhatsApp. And so over the last few days, we've been getting everyone signed up on the respective groups that you need to be in so we can communicate with you quickly. You should have received an invitation to join the WhatsApp group. Patty Kramer is here with me, with us this evening. Patty, do you want to send out a test? Okay, out of the GTBR, we only have 16 total, and that would include both pilots and crew chiefs. Patty? Right, so she's going to send out a test message on WhatsApp. So number one, if you don't have WhatsApp on your phone, you need to upload it or load it. And then come see Patty afterwards here so we can get you signed up on both either the Young Guns group or the Great Texas Balloon Race. We will also accommodate one crew person, most probably your crew chief, to be part of that same group. We're not going to sign up 4 or 5 because we're limited on the number of messages that we can send out. So pilot and crew chief, we want to get you into the WhatsApp group so we can send you information. Okay? So if you would just see Patty afterwards, if you did not just get that test. Okay, Young Guns, you're next. So she's going to send that out. Out of all the Great Texas Balloon Race and Young Gun pilots, did everyone see the FAA when you checked in? Anybody not seen the FAA yet? Raise your hand. Great, you're all set. Dave, we good? Thank you, sir. All right, now we're going to go over just some general rules and reminders as we get ready. The briefing morning time for the U.S. Nationals has changed. We're now doing that at 05:30. So the Great Texas Balloon Race and the Young Guns briefing will be at 6 o'clock directly after their briefing. Okay, so your briefings are going to be at 0600. We had some rule changes for the Young Guns, and let me just specify how we're going to do this, and it's important to note this. The Great Texas Balloon Race set of rules are not only on the Watch Me Fly page for the Great Texas Balloon Race, but it's also on the Great Texas Balloon Race pilot page. Those rules are slightly different than the Young Guns. Very little changes, but it's basically the same kind of HACD weekend rules that we've always been using. So just be advised that it's 2 separate sets of rules, but they don't vary much at all. But I would want you to be familiar with what those rules are. We have had a few rule changes that I'd like you to be aware of. One in particular is that you cannot land within 50 meters of an MMA. Let me say that better. You cannot land within 50 meters of an MMA. So for example, if you have an MMA that's 100 meters, and you want to land shortly thereafter, you have to be 50 meters beyond that. So basically just take the MMA plus 50 meters and you're good. In addition to that, there's been a new rule that was adopted by the HHCD, and that is the timing on the scoring period, whether or not your marker is in the air or on the ground. In the past, all you had to do was to get the marker out of the basket. It could be in the air, and they would follow it all the way down even though it's outside of the scoring window. That's changed. So now it has to be on the ground. So just, if you're that close to the end of the scoring period, just be advised that it needs to be on the ground. All right, I've listed the propane times, and you're aware of where the propane refueling manifold is located. That should have been listed on Watch Me Fly. We want you to return any unused markers. And for the Great Texas Balloon Race pilots who will be using the Dakota 10 loggers, we want you to return those here to the competition center immediately following your flight, before you go to propane and before you go to breakfast. We'll have someone out there with collection bins for you to give those back. And starting tomorrow morning, all of the groups, Nationals, Young Guns, and Great Texas Balloon Race, are going to have ducks for ducks on the pond. I'll ask the question before tomorrow's briefing, but I think you just hold on to the duck if you don't throw it. Obviously, if you throw it, we'll get you a new one for the next day. This is all about the year of busing. In the general briefing notes I had for the U.S. Nationals, we just wanted to identify Bill Bussey and all the efforts that he's put into this great event for the last 47 years. You'll continue to see other recognitions for his accomplishments and his commitment to this race over the course of the weekend. asking you to remember the rest hours when contacting the staff. The days are long and the nights are short, so just be advised. We appreciate the acknowledgement on the time of rest. We have already drawn randomly, mind you, for the jury members that were randomly selected for both the Great Texas Balloon Race and the Young Guns. Alan Yost is going to be the jury president, and for the Great Texas Balloon Race, the three that were randomly selected were Sam Roby, Bob Gonzalez, and Pat Cannon. For the Young Guns, the randomly selected pilots are Shane Shipman, Spencer Copus, and Matty Jones. So in the event that you are asked to participate, we'll pick 2 out of the 3 just in case there happens to be a conflict if you have somebody that you're flying with. I want you to also know that, and if you're from this area, this is no surprise to you, even though we've had some good days of bright sun, there's still a lot of wet fields. We've already had a couple of vehicles get stuck. We've already created a PZ where we really didn't need to create a PZ, which I'm going to get to here momentarily. So I want you to be really aware of where you're driving, even to the point of putting a crew member out front. Because I'd hate for you to get into a field and not be able to fly because you're stuck. Power lines. If you've not flown here in East Texas before, you need to be aware that there's power lines in many places. A lot of these places you can't see the poles. So by all means, make sure that you are clear to land. Wellheads, pump jacks. We have a great landowner relations committee, and John Rich and his team do a wonderful job, and they've got keys to a lot of places. But just because you land behind a locked fence doesn't mean that they're going to be able to get you out. They're going to try their best to get you out. It may take you a while. However, just be aware that if you're behind a lock gate, particularly around a wellhead or a pump jack, it may take a while, and I would advise you to maybe pick another location to land. I-20 is the only red road that we have. There are roads that are listed on the map that are colored red, but the red road is defined as a PZ, only applies to I-20. And that is a dome over I-20 that has a height of 250 feet AGL, or better said, 650 feet MSL. So it's a dome. Just be advised that we don't want you low over I-20. When Duncan and Brad give you pieball readings, they are going to be in magnetic. So just be advised that that's going to be in magnetic. And I think we can say that your forecast winds will be in true. Correct? Great. You should have received a pre-approved list of targets, 4-digit identifiers. Wanted to note that there are no more A's, B's, and C's. Those have all been consolidated. So when you're selecting a target for the Young Guns, you can choose out of any of the 4-digit identifiers that are on the pre-approved list, or if you're going to choose to do something else, then give us the full 4x4 coordinates. We also may give you coordinates, and it may say near something that's already on your pre-approved list because we had to move it for whatever reason. So just be advised that there may be some that we'd have to move a little bit. For the Young Guns, it's to your benefit to fill out the flight report form so we can get your information collected as soon as possible, and it may actually assist us in scoring, so we recommend that you get those filled out as soon as possible. We're going to push out the pieball readings to you through the WhatsApp. So in addition to the important information about safety, we want you also to be getting the pieball readings that in some cases may extend past your briefing. So for your benefit, you need to get that. For those of you that are operating with a trailer, the fire marshal in the fire department has asked us to convey to you that you need to pull the basket out of the trailer. So just be prepared to do that. And of course, no one will be allowed to stay in the basket during refueling. For the special shapes, My special shape pilots, have you already been made aware where you're going to be going in the morning? Raise your hand if it's a yes. Great. Okay. Bill, do you know what time you're supposed to be there? 7 o'clock. All right. 0700 at the location, and we'll go over the locations one more time in the morning just to make sure everyone's got it. Yeah. All right. Want you to be advised that we're not going to tolerate low flying. So we want you to be aware that if you're over the city, that you need to maintain your appropriate altitude. For Great Texas Balloon Race, you will be flying with the Dakotas. All you have to do is turn them on, and then of course turn them off after you land. Please remember to turn them off immediately following your landing, because otherwise you're just collecting track points all the way back, and that's just eating up memory. It's taking the scoring team that much longer to get your track. We are not going to require the GTBR pilots to do any declarations. We're not going to require you to make any marker drops. When I say marker drops, I meant electronic marker drops. Yours would just be direct measure. Of course, the young guns, you're going to be scoring them out. All right, at this time, I will open it up for anybody that may have any questions. When I say common to GTBR and common for you, young guns, maybe at the first task. And it'll be adjacent to the X.
So that would be like a kiddie pool?
Just a kiddie pool.
Okay, not an actual line, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
I had it in the back.
Mr. Baker.
Mr. Baker.
So, I guess, direct more towards you and Andy. So last year, we wait for nationals to get done, and then you send us out. We have the same, target window. Can we get the extension, whenever, at 7 o'clock, make it 7:30, if it's, 7:30, make it 8, so on and so forth, because we were, of course, last year was exceptional.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying?
I do indeed. And here's what we're going to do. At 6 o'clock, you're going to have your own task sheet. You're going to have your own time limits, your own scoring windows. And obviously, the Great Texas Balloon Race are not going to have 5 tasks. So your stream will be appropriately timed, and we'll give you that delayed closing times, just as if we were starting everyone at 6. But what we're going to do, and I think it's important to note this now, in order to try to maintain separation between the groups and try our best to not commingle balloons with the U.S. Nationals in the Great Texas Balloon Race, if the U.S. Nationals and the Young Guns are flying a stream that may be, I don't know, above grid line 0200, something along those lines, we're going to run the GTBR pilots on the same wind line, but probably further south or probably further north. It depends on what the wind is. So we're going to be able to monitor you better that way. Safety will be able to monitor you better. Landowner relations will be able to monitor you better. But we don't want the Great Texas Balloon Race pilots to flying into U.S. Nationals targets and vice versa.
That's still led towards an extension.
Most definitely will be an extension. Yes, most definitely. I had Steve, and then coming back to you, Bob.
Just want to clarify something you said. The Great Texas Balloon Race pilots don't have to do electronic declaration, but we're still going to be able to be scored with a logger score, correct?
We're working on that tonight to determine whether or not we can actually score it that way. We'll have an answer for you in the morning when your task sheet comes out. Okay, Bob?
As much flooding they've got here
Well, I'm going to talk about Young Guns here in a second. The worst field conditions are farther south. We all know that. And to that point, you need to make, and they may have had it in the check-in, but if they didn't, the Kilgore Airport is now a yellow PC. So just make sure that you stay away from there for both launches and landings. All right, now for Young Guns. The Young Guns are going to be flying some of the same tasks as the U.S. Nationals. All right, they've got the BLA, they've got the BLS. We're going to delay, our intent to separate them is going to be based on time and distance. GTBR is going to have a completely separate string altogether. But Young Guns are going to be commingling in with the U.S. Nationals pilots on the back side. Because if we open up the window for U.S. Nationals, say for example at 6:11, if the Young Guns are here still getting a briefing at 6, you can see the timing is already starting to get widened out. And we may send the Young Guns to maybe a 2K minimum ILP where maybe the U.S. Nationals would have a 1K. See where I'm going with that? But I want to stress that no one wants to be that guy or gal that gets in the way of someone who's going for a national championship. And we all recognize your championship is also vitally important to you as it is to us. That's why we're going to do our best to keep that separation. Okay? Any further questions?
On the flight report form, is there going to be, you said as soon as possible, but if something you forget or something, is there going to be a penalty on that?
No, there's no penalty. No. No, again, it's for your benefit. And so help us help you.
This rule, same one as the Nationals, is missing the word valid.
Okay.
Got changed. The last valid declaration.
Would like to point out to all of the Young Guns that in Section 2, Rule 12.2, under Declaration Methods, we found out that there was a key word missing in the rules that were published. And so we petitioned the jury and we were able to get them to add that word. And with respect to the third bullet point, the sentence reads as follows: in case the same number declaration slot is declared more than once, it used to read the last declaration and time will be used. The word valid was missing. So now it should read, in case the same number declaration slot is declared more than once, the last valid declaration in time will be used. So please make sure that you're aware of that. Sandy in the back, and I'm coming up back up front.
This is more for Patty. If you were in the Nationals crew chiefs group and get text from you, will we automatically switch over to Great Texas and give you to?
You need to join, you've got a link, join that link, because that's specific to that group. And then you can unenroll from the other.
Okay, yes, sir.
What am I about, when we go to declare a goal, can we put in just the digit code, or do we have to do the East and Northern? Because I'm not really familiar with using that.
I'm going to turn that over to JC.
Yeah, so the question was, when I had, can you declare the 4-digit target? The answer is yes. You want to put that in the easting coordinate. For the northern, you should leave that blank. If you enter zeros in that, which I have seen Nationals pilots do this week, that is a valid grid line here, and it will impact your results. So just know that going in. Any questions?
On the altitude, it says 4 digits. If we're declaring 900 feet MSL, do you want 0900 or is 900 adequate?
The question was for declaring an altitude, does it need to be 4 digits? The answer is no. A 3-digit altitude works just fine with that.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you asked that question because I just want to make the Young Guns aware of the fact that you can't leave it blank. We want you to declare an altitude, and that altitude minimum is 900. So just follow along with the task sheet. But some of the mistakes that have been made so far with the U.S. Nationals in the beginning is they didn't declare an altitude. and they got dinged on that. All right, any further questions? Yes, Joe? Yeah, how many of the Great Texas Balloon Race pilots have an HACD card
It's current.
that's current?
Looks like enough. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, we have enough, yes, and so we'll submit the scores. Anything else? Okay,
Reminder about the party.
yep, you got the reminder about the party, that's in an hour, you're all welcome. For Young Guns at Great Texas Balloon Race, reminder to wear your shirt, they're gonna take a photo. And if there's nothing else, we're looking forward to a great championship.
Do they have a sponsor commitment? Do they have a sponsor commitment? Would go visit? To go visit?
Oh, yeah. Henry reminded me to remind you, the wonderful sponsors that we have really like to have the photos of your team at their location. So over the course of the next 2 to 3 days, if you would just oblige that and post those so we can give thanks to the sponsors. Thank you. Thanks, Henry. All right, we'll see you at the party. Oh, Steve?
Has the electronic map been updated on the website with the new PZs and everything?
No, not on the website, but the update to Watch Me Fly is current. But I don't control the.
Or not the website, whatever you sent out, wherever we can, that, you know. The tracks and everything, the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't make it a new PZ and give it a new number. We just left the same target number on it and said it's yellow. So that's the only change there is.
Okay, without the map, but inside there was like 4 different changes to the map.
They were just highlighted, they weren't changes.
That on the, on digital.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Don't know where that came from, but that's not the official map. So just, if you make the Kilgore Airport yellow, you're good. Of course, if we have any changes now, you'll get it, but we're not aware of any other changes.
You said something earlier about a new PZ, a new red one from.
That's Kilgore Airport.
Yeah, it's just not red, it's just yellow, because of the tire track damage that was done. All right, we'll see you in the morning. Looking forward to a great weekend.